All right, let's get on with the show here. We have a double whammy coming right out of the blocks with a pair of speakers. The first is a total unknown around these parts, so I'll give him a good and proper introduction. His name is Jeff Moffa. Jeff is a founding board member of the International Knowledge Aware Association and also the president of Auros Knowledge Systems, where he heads the business development, research, and product development teams. Jeff has been an innovative leader in the field of engineering knowledge management and intelligent design automation for the last 15 years and is the author of the white paper Knowledge Aware Engineering. Jeff has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, and also earned an MBA from Michigan State University's Eli Broad Graduate School of Management. And Jeff, I was joking, I'm sure everybody in here knows Jeff, but he's very, very good at articulating not necessarily what Auros does or what it does that's cool, but why does it matter? Why should it be adopted, and what are the differentiators over some of the common knowledge management methodologies today? Coming up with him is going to be Steve Boyce. Steve is a consulting application engineer with Auros Knowledge Systems. Steve has 17 years of engineering experience, spending a handful of those years implementing a knowledge-based validation system for manufacturing at the Ford Motor Company. Over the past 9 years at Auros, Steve has been instrumental in the design, implementation, and support of hundreds of successful knowledge-aware use cases over a diversity of companies and industries. Mr. Boyce Firt graduated from the University of Detroit Mercy with a BS in mechanical engineering, if you can imagine. So, without further ado, I give you Jeff Moffa and Steve Boyce Firt.
Wow. Glad to see everybody here. Before we get going, Steve and I are going to do our best to give you an overview, primer on the knowledge-aware technique. There's a slide, if we could get to just a little bit about the conference format. There's a number of you that have been coming here, thank you, for the last several years, and you'll see that the format of our conference has changed. It used to be heavily an Auros users, or E2KS for some of you that go back far enough, a user format. And we've decided over the last few years, and we keep shifting, and now you see we're all the way on the extreme, that this conference now is a collaboration around the concept and the ideas of knowledge aware, of which Auros is an implementation. So we fundamentally believe in these ideas, and we believe that these ideas are the future of engineering. I'm going to be that bold to say that. And it warrants the differentiation, and it's different than the implementation that Auros is of these concepts. Okay? And we're going to get into that more specifically. So in recognition of that, the International Knowledge Aware Association was formed. Brittany's going to be talking a little bit more about the association specifically, briefly, a little bit later on today. But for the conference format, today, the first day, we're going to be talking a lot just about the concepts. Invariably, we'll have to show you demonstrations that use the Auros versions and technology that supports it, but the concepts we're going to try to keep independent. Tomorrow, you'll see customer or practitioner examples, and you'll see a lot more of Auros there. So it's hard to distinguish, but I will make and continue to promote the ideas as being distinct from the implementation of Auros. I'm certain they are, because I think almost all of you that have come here today have thought along these lines or have tried something internally to your organizations or have evaluated something or imagined something to be similar to knowledge aware, especially those that have come from a design automation background like myself, right? And I know there's a bunch of you out there that come from a design automation standpoint. So that's how we're here with this knowledge-aware thing and this Auros thing. Auros is an implementation of the knowledge-aware concepts, right? So Six Sigma is a concept, lean engineering is a concept, and there's implementations of those things. Knowledge-aware is the concept. It's new, it's different, it's not what people are used to, and it deserves to be treated independently like that. Okay, so that's the format of the conference. If you animate here, so the good thing, that's the conference mission, is talk about the concepts and evolve the concepts, because it's not static, it's changing. There's new ideas being contributed by the practitioners that are here and evolving the knowledge-aware practice. The good thing is people are interested in it. The conference participation is up 30% this year. It was up the year before that, and hopefully we'll be up again 30% again next year. So please help us spread the word. That's part of the mission of the International Knowledge Aware Association. That said, let's get started with the basic concepts. Let's talk about what do we mean by knowledge aware. So Steve, if we could come over, we switch up to this. So we've started to map out how we describe knowledge aware to people who are not familiar with it. So we're going to take you through that. We don't have time to go through the whole thing today, so we're really going to focus in, I'm going to focus in on the big picture, and then my colleague Steve here is going to take you through, the why is important and the fundamentals. So this is kind of what we're doing today, okay? So let's start with, the big picture here. What do we mean by knowledge aware? Okay, so the big picture here is about, and Dan did a great job of introducing it, the big difference, everybody can understand, it's easy. It's passive versus active managing knowledge, right? That's what it's all about. Okay, so we believe fundamentally that there's a shift, and it's happening regardless of Auros existing. The shift is towards this from passive to active because actively managing knowledge can solve a wide range of problems caused by lack of knowledge reuse, okay? It's a huge and broad problem. In looking out across the faces here, I can think of so many different use cases, even within single organizations, where the application of this technique is extremely broad. The organization Auros Knowledge System, the company that produces the software, is a practitioner of knowledge-aware technique in and of itself, and we're actually going to present tomorrow. It's a very powerful technique that can be applied to a broad range of problems where knowledge can help stop problems, right? So that's the basic idea. So let's talk to the audience here. We're going to start with a polling question now. Dan kind of went through it. We did it by hands last year. We're going to get some more data around it this year. So can we bring out our cell phones? Is that possible? For those of you who've got the app involved. And we're going to go to, can you click on the top box here, Steve? Oh yeah, you already have it. Okay, the polling questions. These are the polling questions. We're going to go one at a time. So when you go to your app, it should, and you open it up, you should get the first polling question. And the first polling question should read, does your company experience problems of recurring errors and problems? Do you have recurring problems, okay, that you would imagine would be great to solve? How many people can see the polling question, just so I know? Everybody can see the polling question? Okay, a lot of you can see it. Okay, so can you answer that polling question now for us? Then we'll look at the results and we'll go to the second polling question. Is that okay? Everybody with me? Good? Alex, can you see it? No? All right, Alex is good, okay. All right, so we're getting a total here. Okay, so as we get the running total here, it's not a surprise to anybody in the room of what the answer is, right? We have recurring problems. The nature of recurring problems is that we should be able to anticipate them because they recur, meaning there's a common problem with a common set of context. And if we were truly learning, common problems would be less common, right? So let's move on to the next question. So we had 72 votes, 100%, everybody's got recurring problems. So let's go to the more interesting question now. Does your company have an effective means of reusing knowledge to solve these problems? Now, if you are an advanced practitioner of using Auros and have started to solve these problems, please don't answer this thinking prior to the knowledge-aware technique, okay? So let's take a second, let's answer the second question. And again, if you're already doing knowledge-aware, let's answer it as if it were before knowledge-aware. Okay, you can see this going real time. By the way, this is really cool. Okay, this is much better than hands. And it's common because the answer is known to it's not surprising to anybody. It's because by and large, people are relying on documents. Okay, and it is not an effective means of sharing and reusing knowledge. Yet, that's the state of the art. As Dan said, it's almost the same as chalk drawings on the cave. I mean, it's humorous to say it that way, but it makes the point, right? Documents aren't the way that's going to happen. If there's a better way, it's a fundamental shift, and that's the point of the International Knowledge Aware Association. The problem is that it's new, and we all need to understand it, and once we do, we can take advantage. Okay, so if you're one of those 13%, I'd like to hear about it. So approach me afterwards, I'd like to hear about it. Okay, so what do we really mean here? So the old way, as I kind of preempted myself, is the idea of document management. Hey, and I know documents are in SharePoint and we can search them. Okay, we use SharePoint a little bit ourselves. It still has proven to be largely ineffective. I've seen customers spend a tremendous amount of money and effort customizing SharePoint and having these documents managed. It has a workflow, has all the stuff. Does it affect the engineering decisions or the technical decisions or decisions that are made in the company? Not so much, okay? So that's why. So to the organization, those processes look like that. It's kind of funny when you think about it, right? You know, like, find too much, find too little. Is it still valid? Let's just say that the flaws with document-based approaches to managing knowledge are very easy to see and very easy to document. In fact, we have some research paper about all those failure modes of the documents. We can talk about them later. So what's different? Okay, so away from kind of the traditional approach into what the new approach is. Oh, here's a slide from a customer, just kind of saying the same thing, right? This is what it looks like to the end users. It's just a different version of the person in front of the library, only it's a big cloud of different document repositories. That's what it looks like. So this is just to support the argument. This is how people generally see it from different organizations. So the new way is something different. The new way is this knowledge-aware approach, okay? And what we said is that what's different is passive to active. So what do we mean by active knowledge? Okay, I'm going to give you kind of two things that what active means. Active means that it moves. Knowledge moves and gets to where it needs to go. It gets provisioned. So the outcome of this activity of knowledge moving, is that searching becomes unnecessary. It's always funny. We go to a customer engagement or a consulting where we're talking about the prospects of knowledge aware, and they ask us about the technology, and they say, well, show us how good your search engine is. It completely misses the point of what's available with current technology, right? So we want to get around that by making knowledge active in the sense that knowledge gets to where it needs to go. And we're going to talk about this a little more metaphorically and bring it home in a second. But knowledge moving, that's active. The second part of active is this idea that it's connecting and engaging and interacting with the flow of work, right? So a document is always sitting on the side, but if knowledge can flow, find its context, and actually engage and interact with that context, a CAD system, a planning system, a launch system, there's a whole bunch of other things that are now become available. So active, I'm just giving you two examples of many. It's flowing and it's interaction with the flow of work. That's what we mean by active. Documents are passive. You're not going to get there with documents, right? So we got to do something different. So how do we do it? What's it look like? So first step, we're going to go to the next one, Steve, if you don't mind. Yep. So it's really pretty straightforward. The knowledge-aware approach has a prescription for something called a knowledge packet, and it's the way knowledge gets represented, the way knowledge gets encapsulated. You can think about it like this. Metaphorically, we're taking the documents, we're discarding all of the unnecessary exposition, how many design guides I've seen with all these, the number of words seem to be associated with value, and it's actually the opposite, right? The more signal and less noise actually makes it more valuable. So we discard that, and we represent the knowledge in something we like to call a knowledge packet. Okay, so we had to come up with a name for it. What is it? There's three distinctive properties of a knowledge packet. And again, this is absolutely independent of Auros technology. We're saying no documents, represent the knowledge directly in something called knowledge packet. And these knowledge packets need to be granular, they need to be modular, and they need to be actionable. So real quick, granular means that they're consistent in terms of their size and their scope. Documents can contain so much stuff, or they can contain almost nothing, right? And so knowledge packet structure will promote consistent granularity. They will be modular. They will be able to be put together with other knowledge packets to form the things that you want, right? When you want them on demand, customized for that context. And they'll be actionable. They will be able to interact with the flow of work, as I previously said. So there's a lot of dependency, a lot of the value depends on how these knowledge packets work. So the knowledge-aware process prescribes this kind of structure, okay? And so that's a big deal. So the next thing we'll look at is, the second part of it is once you have the knowledge properly encapsulated, we need to be able to provision. We need to have that first step of flowing into the flow of work. So this is just a graphical representation of what we mean. There's different domains of people who know stuff or learning stuff. What they need to know is represented as knowledge packets, those little jacks-looking things, and they are provisioned intelligently into the flow of work so that only what's needed to be known is known at the time it needs to be known. And you're not sifting through, searching for, missing what needs to be known, and providing a very robust means of communication of expertise. It's all about passive versus active, right? So don't throw away the documents, get rid of them completely, represent the knowledge as these things called knowledge packets, and then allow these to do work in the flow of work. So let's have some metaphorical example here. So let's go to the next image here. I tell a story. Excuse me, some of you have heard me tell the story, but it so well describes what I'm talking about. A long time ago, this was probably in the 90s, middle 90s, I had to go to the UK and do some business in Bristol, England. And I had thought to myself, I better be prepared. I'm going to be driving on the wrong side of the road. I bought this map, looked just like that, an A to Z map. You unfurl it, and there's all the information you could possibly need about roads in downtown Bristol. Okay? And I tried to memorize where I was going. But I got lost. I'm in downtown Bristol. I'm going back and forth between these two circles, trying to figure out from 1 second to the next where I got to turn off. Going back and forth. I probably went back and forth 10 times while I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, so that is a document-based approach to managing knowledge about where we should travel and what we should do. And it was perilous, to say the least. I'm lucky, I'm really lucky I didn't have an accident. So what's the analogy here? Where am I going with this? So really, something's happened to maps. When's the last time anybody unfurled a paper map? Come on, did anybody do it today? Oh, we got one. Okay. I think we can agree that it's less common. Can we agree on that? Vicki, can we agree on that? Okay, so it's less common. Why? Because a superior model has emerged. And that model is analogous to provision, to the knowledge of what knowledge aware is. When you think about it, all the information available in Google Maps isn't coming to you. The only information that's coming to you is the one that's immediately needed, the next turn, the next map. So Google Maps is actually provisioning, based on your context, where you are by GPS, and it's provisioning to you the next map tile and the next turn. Even better, it's able to course correct. You make a wrong turn, reroute, figures out something new. This is now the next thing you need to do. You're not looking through the map, oh, what's my next turn, when you made a mistake and getting caught between two circuses like I did. So what's happening is there's a knowledge base that has a robust method of sensing your context through GPS and is provisioning the right knowledge to you as you go. That's so easy to understand. So why can't we do this with engineering knowledge? Why can't we provision? Your projects have context. You have phase gates, you have launch points, you have whatever it is. There's context. We should be able to sense the context and provision the right knowledge. And we should provision it in a way that's efficient to reuse. Documents just aren't there, okay? So, that's pretty powerful. Why are we still using paper maps to do knowledge? It seems kind of crazy. Okay, so paper maps, not so good. We can agree to that. So what we really are talking about now, step back, is we're talking about doing what navigation is, what navigation did to paper maps. We're talking about knowledge, or the knowledge-aware process doing to document repositories for managing knowledge. Now, there are other techniques, okay? But by far the most prevalent are document repositories. Specifications, standards, Excel sheets, PowerPoint files, all in SharePoint, and people are expected to search through this and find it, okay? It's just not a good process. So what we're talking about with the knowledge-aware technique is a single technique, regardless of the silo, that can improve the individual process and also provide this next level of being able to share across the different processes, where they were completely isolated before, and my colleague Steve here is going to get into this quite a bit more detail, but that unlocks a tremendous amount of value. So it is truly knowledge-aware And again, I said at the beginning, it's a general kind of capability, broadly applied at some of the practitioners. It's not specific to one kind of thing. It's actually tough for us, because the first thing that a potential practitioner would ask us is, well, where can I do it? Like, where can't you do it? So where do we start? Okay, so then there's a process of finding that out. So I'm going to leave you with one other story here, if we can go to the what if. So consider how a child learns. A child sees a hot stove, touches the hot stove, and they come into the kitchen the following day, they see the red, they don't touch it. So what's happened? The child's learned they didn't have to go search for something. The act of recall is extremely efficient for a child, right? So, and then the child can see the sibling come to the stove and say, no, don't do it, and prevent that pain. So what's happening is that memory in an individual is extremely efficient, right? We don't have to spend time searching through a database to recall. So I submit to you that if your company had the power, had this ability to recall effortlessly and learn continuously, okay, now we're talking about a transformational capability, one that a company or an organization is compelled to invest. And I submit to you that once you see that this is possible, you will also agree that it's beyond compelling. It's inevitable. Navigation did it to maps. This knowledge-aware technique, whether it's Auros or some other technology, this idea of encapsulating knowledge and provisioning it will be the way that experts exchange with people who need expertise. So I'll give you just a little bit more. Some very large organizations that have started to experiment with this technology or this kind of approach, it spread very quickly, amazingly, without a prominent technology provider like Siemens or somebody, right? It wasn't there, but yet it spread. I offer that as evidence that what I'm saying is true, that it's inevitable. It's because the ideas and the concepts are strong enough that they stand on their own independent of a technology, independent of a strong provider at C-level, room making C-level kinds of organizational touch points and giving, great presentations and getting the top-down stuff. This stuff is all evolving bottom-up. It's all evolving bottom-up. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll now pass it over to my colleague. We've completed that step. Oh, it's already marked complete. And with that, we'll take questions. We'll have time for questions at the end. Okay, Steve will take over.